Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. Happy, what is today, Tuesday? Or is it a blood red market day? Well, bit of both, right? Both things can be present at the exact same time. I'm making jokes because this is no surprise. You know, Bitcoin pulling back under that $100,000 mark. 100,000 didn't even stand a chance. And most altcoins are just knee-jerk reactioning down. Which is pretty standard, pretty much par for the course. Nothing to be super surprised by. What's good though is Solana's holding out pretty well, all things considered. One of the few coins that hasn't overextended itself to the downside or pulled back super hard. While it's down about 8% from its highest point recently, it's only down 5% on the day, which is pretty much a 1-to-1 ratio with Bitcoin. And that's uncommon for most altcoins because a lot are just flopping pretty hard. So that leads me to believe we should see and continue to see some support here in the 200 to 205 range, which we've already seen here so far. Small potential of like 199, 197 as a wick down if Bitcoin continues to its 93, 94K range. Because again, there's a lot of liquidation here. Keep in mind, for Bitcoin, down as low as about 94,000. So we may just be getting started here at this point for further downside for Bitcoin. Just kind of throwing it out there. It's not a guarantee this liquidation levels will be swept, but I do think that we're probably going to range at best between 95 and 99,000 or 100,000, easy round number for Bitcoin. And that's super relevant to understand because Solana performing equal to Bitcoin will probably move similarly, right? But generally speaking, when Solana is paired equally with Bitcoin, it'll typically 2x the upside. So I'm not expecting great things from Solana, but I am expecting the bottom to be tentatively in, and I think that this low $200 mark still seems like a good value at this time. All right. So again, things can definitely change, folks. You got to keep on your toes and make sure you're not, if you're taking longs or shorts, you don't take anything to the moon anymore, right? You got to kind of get things realistically and secure profits when you can, because unfortunately the market moves pretty fast on a dime. So just be mindful of that. All right, so this last 12 hours here, a majority of liquidation has been swept. We may see another wick down to about 203 to 205. That is a distinct possibility based on liquidation alone in the last 12 hours. Let's take a quick look at the last 7 days and just kind of see if that's any different. Roughly the same thing here. Only difference here is that these late longs are potentially going to get swept here. Now I don't think that we're going to see anything lower than 200, but generally speaking, 205 to 200 I think is that range that may actually get tested here soon, especially if Bitcoin runs to like 95K, for example, right? It keeps retesting lower lows for the moment. So generally speaking, best practice not to take a long into it, but if you do consider a long with Solana, again, just low leverage, maybe low position size, something that's safer, if you will, because even though it's performing well and doing well, or as poorly rather as Bitcoin, it's that speaks louder than majority of the rest of the market, considering what other coins are doing right now. So just heads up on that. So daily time frame, let's just be subjective here and look. We're above the 20-day SMA still. That's hanging out at that 197 mark. There's a lot of confluence at 197/203, that kind of that little range here. So decent probability if the price goes lower, we're going to see some support there. We may see an aggressive candle wick even lower. So if you do take a leveraged long, make sure it's either a low leverage or you average in and don't go all in at 203 or 205 or whatever. It's best to not do that. But we're under the 50-day SMA above us here, and I talked about this previously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row couldn't cross that level. So just be mindful that is a resistance at 220 mark. So if you do end up taking a long to that range and we retest that level, while it's more likely to break after retesting it and coming back up, it's also still going to be construed as a resistance range, and we got to treat it as such by securing profits prior to. Okay, so if you take a long right now, at 218, 219, a profit target in that range or just under would be advisable. Same thing here as well with the daily time frame. We're at 50 in the RSI, still not in terrible shape. We haven't broken bearish yet. Bitcoin's exuding similar behavior. It's right there at 50. So we're seeing a lot of similarities between Bitcoin and Solana right now with the price action. It's not exact. I think Solana broke out a little faster and harder than Bitcoin, but they're both facing similar resistances and supports. So we're in that support range for Bitcoin, support range for Solana. It really just depends on how much further down Bitcoin is going to go. Okay. So overall, pretty decent situation here. I'm not like super impressed by this, but I'm also glad and happy to see that Solana is actually holding its weight for the moment. While it is on the retrace, It's becoming a bit on the overextended side. Even though TD sequential doesn't reflect it, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're about 7 red candles into this continuation down. So just know probably another 12 hours or so of potential further downside or sideways price action, followed by a potential relief rally from there. Okay, so again, if you take a long right now, there's a decent amount of profit, right? But just know the local point of control is 216. That macro resistance is roughly about 219, 220. So again, securing profits between now and 216 seems a little bit more sensible than the other way around, right? Don't try to hold until 300 or something crazy, because you're going to get eaten up on fees if you're using leverage. It just doesn't make a ton of sense. We're under 50 on the RSI, right there in that 40 range. Generally construed as a bearish type of divergence. We can look here at the MACD. We can also recognize that we got an MACD FU here, and just a lot of reasons why the price action is moving down, or just to not be naive and think that we're just going to see an instant recovery. I think that we should see a recovery from Solana. It's performing well versus Bitcoin, but it's not, the bleeding may not be over yet. So if you're going to take a trade, make sure you use low leverage, low position size, and just ensure that you're being safer than sorry, right? We take a look here at the Ichimoku Cloud. Every reason not to take a long position on the smaller time frames, even though I am tempted to take a long in the low 200 mark. If that were to come to pass, I'd make sure that it's low leverage, and a very low position size, just to be safe. Because again, you can't go hard on a situation like this when everything looks like it's going to go down. But once more, you got to recognize too, market makers are really good about getting everyone convinced to start short selling. And once that delta shifts, then it'll change the dynamic. Speaking of which, we didn't look at this. I apologize. Looking at liquidation delta, we're right here, smack dab, pretty much at break even. Okay, so that's a good sign. It means that we don't have a ton of people short selling, and that there's just as many people taking longs as they are taking shorts. And then we take a look at our open interest. We can see 210 was that local open interest. So that does reiterate and reaffirm that that could be a new resistance for us, because that's where a lot of people are underwater now. And oftentimes when the price recovers back to that level, they'll try to sell and get out of that bad trade. So just keep in mind that's a potential reality here. So I'll update our I'll post our updated playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord as per usual. So it's all available there for you. But I would just say, folks, try not to be overly concerned with this. While Bitcoin could continue to lower and altcoins could as well, if you're being responsible and you're not overdoing it with leverage, you're probably going to be just fine, which is where we're at as a community here, right? So I don't have any trouble with coins that are needing to breathe when they jump up and down here, right? But the good news is most altcoins feel like they're getting closer to their bottom, and there's a solid chance that these previous resistances turn support, like 200, for example, for Solana. They're likely to hold here soon, and we want to pay attention to how altcoins are performing contrary to Bitcoin or in light of that. Okay, so we'll double check that, but these aggressive selling candles are starting to diminish, and that's generally a positive sign. All right, folks, thanks again for watching. Hope you learned something today. Don't forget to comment below, like, subscribe, follow if you haven't already. Join us over at Bitunix too, folks. Nice promotion this month for MacBook Pro and Rolex. Pretty much easy money if you are a high volume trader, which we have quite a lot of those in our community. All right, folks, have a good rest of the day. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.